Hey, real estate agents, are you worried about the buyer agent compensation being removed from the MLS? Well, at Zoodealio, we have the solution for you. Tune in today's session and I'm gonna show you how it works. All right, well, good morning, everybody. I hope that you are off to an amazing start to this week. We are already coming up on the end of the halfway mark. Can you believe it? I don't know about you guys, but this year in particular seems to have gone incredibly fast, and it just seems to be getting faster, right? I know there's always that theory of relativity of time. The more time that you have, the faster it goes, because your perspective is always based on the 100%. And of course, the more time you have, the less value from a percentage standpoint every single day has. So always an interesting theory and something I try to keep at the forefront of my mind. With that said, I want to be talking about a lot of ways that we can squeeze that value out of every single day and squeeze that value out of every single lead, and by continuing to bring value propositions to the marketplace. You know, as everybody, I would imagine, that's been on my calls before or watched videos, etc., knows that I'm a raving fan of the, I guess, kind of mantra or ideology of your business is going to grow to the extent that your audience does. And one of the best ways to get that audience to grow is to capture additional information or contact information from that set audience by bringing a unique value proposition. So one of the things that I'm going to be diving into today is something that we are going to be pushing going forward, and I'm going to start talking about it more and more. Now, the reason behind this that we're going to be discussing the Become a Cash Buyer program. This is an offer that exists in your dashboard, and it literally is an opportunity for your buyer clients to buy their next home in cash, then replace it with their mortgage. Now, the advantages, of course, are not only on value, terms, speed, certainty, all of those things that we're talking about here. But as we all know, the recent development, a couple months ago, I guess it is now, that the buyer agent compensation is getting removed from the MLS. So we are working out some terms where we are going to essentially be able to ensure that you all get compensated inside of this program. And essentially the way it will work is the house will be purchased by the cash buyer. Then when we go to replace that mortgage, the commission, if depending on how the buyer wants to go about it, can potentially be included in that mortgage. Now, the beauty of cash, of course, is that we get to negotiate the terms. Of course, you can negotiate terms with mortgage, etc., and that days on market is always going to be a massive indicator on what our negotiation strength is, or, is the house priced right, condition, right? All of the variables that we know as professional. With that said, one of the things I want to look at is, again, statistically, cash, because it can close in, let's say 10 days, 2 weeks with this particular program, that is a lot of opportunity for that seller. And so these are the things I want us to, why I'm having these conversations or bringing this to you all a little bit early, where you are going to be able to, again, there'll be marketing materials, which I'm going to show you here, just some of the things that exist, taking you through the dashboard, what that looks like here in just a moment. However, what I want everybody to be thinking about is, with the days on market in the majority of America creeping up a little bit, right? Meaning, yes, I know that there's still a lot of houses that will sell in days or even weeks. However, there's still a lot of properties, right, hitting that 35, 45, 60-day mark. Well, these are prime opportunities to where if your buyers are hot on those, or you have that buyer that's looking for the deal because they, rates are at 7% as an example, and in order for this move to make sense, they need to really get the bang for their buck. Well, this is a tremendous opportunity for you to do that. You can 100% bring this to that specific type of client and be able to use it and convert, win out against potential other agents, rather than them, other agents saying, hey, if you have a house to sell and a house to buy, I'll represent you for free, or I'll represent you for 1%, right? A lot of the things that I anticipate could come down the pike is, to try to find buyers or to capture sellers, they're going to weave in the buy side offering. Right now, a statistic for us to remember is that 60% of all people that sell their house are also looking to buy a house, right? That's a verified fact year after year by the National Association of Realtors, and even Zillow's done their own studies on that too and found the exact same statistic, right? And depending on the year, it could be 59 to 62, 63, right? So, but again, roughly 60% of all people that are, when they sell their house, are also looking to buy another home. So that is an overwhelming opportunity, right, for us. And so that's where we really want to look at, hey, rather than just, reducing or waiving that fee, why don't I introduce you to cash, where in certain circumstances you can negotiate 5%, 10% discounts, right? When you look at the history, I know Kaylee uses this, but giving you just the cliff notes on it, there is the University, I believe, of Berkeley years ago did a study on cash versus mortgage. And what they found is essentially over a span of 100 years, they found on average homes that were purchased with a mortgage versus homes that were purchased with cash, houses that purchased with cash actually received an 11% discount on average. So I don't think that that's our market today, being candid. But with that said, because of the lack of inventory and depending on the buyer and how you want to apply it in a certain market, if you focus on certain types of properties, you absolutely are going to be able to get that type of discount and more. So as an FYI, this product pretty much works with all loan types other than FHA. So even when you're talking about VA and those types of things, right? You have your VA non-allowables. There's so many of these things that are changing that now the allowables from seller concessions are potentially going to allow commissions where they didn't allow that before. There is just a lot of different ways that we're going to start to have to look at solving this problem essentially as an industry. And so this is without a doubt a tremendous opportunity for you guys to be able to bring not only a way to solve this problem, but to really ultimately level up and get more deals going. Because again, if we take this right and we look at this right, there is a program fee on it, that's at 2%, but that 2% program fee is going to, along with your potential commission. So again, I was just doing this for somebody in discussion. So just kind of giving you a quick little verbal overview before we go into the dashboard and walk through, kind of take a look at an opportunity. You have let's say that you have a house that's on the market for $400,000. This house that's in particular we're talking about has been on the market for, let's say, 60 days. Well, you have an opportunity to come in and let's just say you're able to acquire it for $375,000 in today's market. Okay, well, that's a $25,000 discount, right? Well, if we look at let's just say 2.5% to 3% commissions for you and a 2% program fee, so you're at roughly 4.5% to 5% concessions that you'll need in that. Well, actually, that if you really look at the house mortgage amount can be based on the $400,000. Well, if we replace that, right, that $400,000 mortgage, $375,000 cash purchase, that buyer has the opportunity to roll all of that in there that allowed them to now not have to pay for that money out of pocket. Everything is going to, they're 5% down as an example, would be based on the mortgage amount. These are all things that they would have already had in there. So in all technicality, this actually is going to save them money too, because remember, the program fee and all of it is going to be based on the cash purchase price. So those are lower costs. So in this circumstance that I just gave you, there would actually be a little bit of an overage that could be used towards concessions, right? So those are things buying down their title costs, the origination fee, HOA fees, those types of things that they could be able to apply that cash to that actually saves them money. So not only are they getting potentially a better opportunity, winning the deal, quick close as far as that goes, this situation Well, now they're technically saving money. So it's a really cool opportunity for you guys. And again, that's just an example scenario that I outlined for you guys in that, where sometimes the deal is going to be quite a bit more, right? If your buyer wants to be, a little bit more aggressive, let's just say it was a house at 450 and buys it at 400 and runs the numbers the exact same path that I just said, well, they're actually getting their house at a discount. Or another thing I want you all to think about that I've talked about in the past is using those closing costs, right? So when they buy the house at $400,000, and if they're willing to get a mortgage, let's just say at 430, 440 after the costs or everything else are covered, well, those concessions potentially per the lender, right? This is all things that would be mathed out upfront for your client. They can take a percentage and buy down that rate. So that whole term of, we all know, marry the house, date the rate. Well, there's not a real clear path of how much longer they're going to have this date rate, time frame. So if you can get establish a payment that makes sense for them by taking 1%, 2%, 3%, and you're actually getting a 0.5%, 0.75% lower interest rate, you are creating affordability on a month-over-month basis for that family. So again, there's just really an unlimited ways for you guys to be able to attack really leads. My last thing I want to throw at you guys before I dive in here is I want you to think about this. Most agents that have been, in the game for a minute have worked some type of IDX leads. Those of you that don't know what IDX leads are, essentially at its core, Zillow, Redfin, Boomtown, Sync, etc., right? It's where there's the property that's displayed, that lead registers to be able to look at the photos, get information, and be able to do a home search. Internet Data Exchange, IDX leads, okay? So what those types of leads are usually, they're buyer leads. So one classic way to be able to approach these people and have a key differentiator is, hey, when you find the house that makes sense, right, giving you a script here, when you find the house that makes sense for you and your family, are you planning on getting a mortgage, or are you planning on paying cash for the home? Well, again, 80% of the people are going to say, nah, we're going to get a mortgage. Okay, fantastic. Hey, have you ever considered how much more of a discount that you could get buying the home with cash? Because we just happen to work with a program. One of our partners will actually buy the house in cash on your behalf. Then it's replaced with your mortgage. There's no rate premium, nothing, no catch. Everything's very straightforward. And it ultimately gives you an opportunity to get a supreme deal. But most of all, ensure that you get the home that you want in today's low inventory, highly competitive market. Right? So again, these are ways for you to take a lead that may be sitting on the fence and, waiting to see what goes on with rates until after the election, et cetera, where you can now get them into action today. That's the part that I led with, is that I'm going to circle back to, is that unique value proposition, right? Where you create the lead, cultivate and inspire the lead by bringing value and getting them into motion now by bringing them something that allows them to realize their goal quicker, ultimately. So, all right, hopefully that was a good walkthrough for you guys so you could kind of start really getting behind the power of being able to turn your buyers' offers to cash, ultimately buying their next home in cash. So inside your offer dashboard, when you click on marketing and then you click on videos, you're going to be pulled into this table here that most of you, I would imagine, are familiar with. Well, inside here is the Become a Cash Buyer program, which is ultimately the program explainer that outlines, all of this, right? So this kind of highlights a little bit of what I was just saying there. Part of one of the things that I love that we did here, and of course with the rise of ChatGPT, the AI ad builders, there's a lot of things out there. This still gives you a baseline of how you want to communicate this value proposition to your market, right? So part of one of the things is that all of us as agents, we will come to understand a program, come to understand a value, but how do you communicate it at scale? How do you grow that audience, right? Remember what I was talking about before, that your business is always going to grow to the extent that your audience does. Well, how do you create awareness around a value proposition at large scale within that set audience? So giving you perspective and pulling it all together, you have 1,000 IDX leads that you have created over the last, I don't know, let's just say 18 months. Well, now you're able to communicate, take this marketing message that you have here on the screen that you're able to deploy via email, text message. And of course, this is really designed here for social media, or even being able to have AdWords. You can take this type of messaging depending on the flexibility of your website, right? There's just a whole lot of different ways that you're going to be able to use this, right? So for example, if you're running home value and seller leads, right, you can backlink your two options and make them work together. You know, hey, gotta looking to buy a house, right? If it's home value, you just have a simple button. Click here to buy your next home in cash. Did you know that cash buyers receive up to an 11% discount, right? So these are just different calls to action that you can ultimately take and put on your site, build into your marketing messages to be able to continue to drive traffic. And again, create that awareness around the value proposition that you are bringing to the marketplace. I want to, real quick here, I'm gonna actually make sure the sound is on here. Okay, so I'm gonna play this video here real quick for you. As you guys can see, it's 52 seconds. And again, my goal here is to really just kind of share with you what this is. Now, if I were you, once this is done, I'm going to actually upload this to my business profile page and my personal page, or upload that and share it on my personal page would be an option as far as that goes. And again, part of what these things will do if I'm doing that is really just the consistency of the share in which I'm doing. And then ultimately, right, what I am doing is pulling people in to like, comment, then I'm going to be able to hopefully start some conversations. And remember, the more we push this and the more you work it, the more you are going to start to attract it. This is one of those things that you're going to have to push on it, because it's a newer offering, it's a newer value proposition to the marketplace that a lot of buyers are just flat out not that aware of exists. And so by you bringing it and pushing it, there's going to be a discovery process, you know, really an authentication process, right? They want to make sure that it's valid, it works, it's not some hokey, scammy, bait and switch type thing. So this is where you guys are going to be able to push this out. And a lot of times starting with an audience that already knows you, likes you, trusts you, i.e. your Met database, people that you have talked to, interacted with, right? You're going to have a higher level of trust with them. So this is where I would personally start in deploying that. With that said, let me click play.
If you're looking to buy a home, have you thought about negotiating with the power of cash? Cash buyers are 4 times more likely to win in a multiple offer situation and receive on average an 11% discount over finance buyers. Here's how the cash buyer program works. Complete the online approval process to become a cash buyer. Once approved, go shopping with the power of cash. We'll make a cash offer on your behalf with no financing or appraisal contingencies and close in as little as 10 days. Once your loan is ready, we sell the house to you for the same sales price and you move in. Shop, negotiate, and write offers with the power of cash.
I'm going to walk you guys through on how you can go access this video yourself one more time. So let me just give you that real quick run through on that, and I would encourage you to check it out after this. So when you log into your Zoodealio dashboard, you'll go down to marketing, then you'll go to videos. Then when you pull up that table, it is the 4th one over, and it's the cash buyer program. Click on that, and then when you click on this, there will be a link right here. And that link, by the way, how you're going to want to do that is you will come over here, click on this arrow, and you'll be able to download that video, and then you'll be able to take ownership of that video and upload it to wherever you want. So one of the other things, of course, is that there is a lot of social media assets around these types of things. And what I want to do is reconfirm that, you know, with these assets, right? It's all about posting them in consistency. When you also use these assets, or you're using an asset inside your marketplace that's getting the most clicks, the most likes, the most engagements, well, that's usually a graphic or one that's almost kind of like a testing that now I want to use that one and I'm going to run an ad with that one, right? So inside of Meta, that's where those of you that are looking to run advertisements, giving you just again another game play that I would make, I would run a geo fence on that, right? That way it's a lot less restrictive when you run, let's say, a 30-mile or 20-mile radius around your office, and then you can just run a daily ad budget. That way, anybody that comes inside that geofence is likely to see your ad based on some of the things that you have set. The other thing I love about that, right, is when you do this, right, if you have your pixel set and you have an ad budget running for your pixel, and they drive outside of that geofence, of course, they drive outside with that pixel attached to them, so the ad continues to reserve, and you get an opportunity to convert that lead. That way, it's not just working when they're inside that geofence. Case in point, if you're in an office in a city, in a metropolitan, the buyer lives in a suburb area, they drive in, get the ad, they drive home, and then they would be outside of that geofence in that situation. Well, this is where they now take that with them because of the pixel and the way all of that works. So just remember that you want to be able to set those things and do those things to make sure that your ads are the most effective that they possibly can be. Let's go into a dashboard. So as an FYI, this is again something that will be returning the request to get your buyer qualified for cash. Will be a button inside the dashboard where you'll be able to submit that information. And what that process is going to look like is once you submit them to get cash qualified, they're actually going to reach out to you first, right? And so what this is actually a mortgage partner of Zoodealio's that will reach out to you to ensure that when the house is purchased with cash, that they can be replaced with the mortgage, right? So essentially giving you an overview now of how the program works. They get fully cash qualified, right? Then you can go out and take them shopping for their house. You guys identify a property. All right, so this is where I'm talking about here. Is when we come into the dashboard, your client, you're going to have the ability to market to this. And one of the things, again, that shouldn't be in the too distant future is having an additional landing page where you can have a lead capture to be able to promote to just this one value proposition. Then from there, you'll be able to have your client get cash offers on their existing properties, and then they can click get cash approved. Additionally, when you talk to the leads, you'll be able to get them cash approved. Right? So going through that process, they're going to call you, find out what they need to when you request to get your client cash approved. Then from there, if you want to set up a call where you're involved and it's a three-way call, they'll absolutely work that with you. Otherwise, they'll be getting reaching out to your client and get them cash approved. Now, essentially what happens in the approval process is they get fully underwritten, approved, subject to address. So meaning that if they're going to be shopping, hey, what's the purchase price that you're looking to buy within? Hey, we want to buy up to $700,000, okay? It doesn't mean that they need to buy a $700,000 house once they get cash approved for that amount. If they go out and find a slam and deal at $600,000, then great for them. And the cash to win wins them that deal at that particular time. Well, ultimately, how it works though is that we are going to get them fully approved for their max amount with the cash approval process. That way they can get the mortgage, and that replaces the cash when that happens. Now, we typically get a lot of questions around the inspection and what does that process look like. So let's take a moment to look at those. So with the home inspection, you're actually going to be working with the cash buyer during that inspection process. What happens is a full inspection happens on the cash buy, so that if you have item 1, 2, and 3 that you want the cash buyer to address, they will negotiate and get those things addressed for you. Or you'll be able to, they make those requests, and let's say that the seller agrees to items 1 and 3, for example. Well, and that gets taken back to you. If you are in agreement with it, and you and your client are in agreement with it, well, what happens on that, of course, is the inspection that happens right? It all is just done over and passed over that way. Once the cash buyer closes on the property, we're immediately able to go under a contract, and everything passes through. So the great thing about it is your buyer does get technically a full inspection, period. It's just done on the cash buyer acquisition side of things. So then from there, once the cash buyer closes, most of the time, mortgage and closing process takes 1 week to 2 weeks. So the cash buyer technically owns that house for about 1 week to 2 weeks. And then once the mortgage is ready, it's replaced with the cash, that replaces the cash. Your client then is the owner of the property, and they're able to move in. So it's, again, a really cool process, a tremendous opportunity for you guys to ensure that you're going to get paid with the structure that I outlined previously. But additionally, it is going to be a tremendous opportunity for your clients to not only get a good deal, but to win in our low inventory times and our definite changing times when it comes to buyer agent compensation. Like I said, this is a great way for you to convert those IDX leads. And additionally, as we release other assets with landing pages and those types of things to help you guys generate more leads and opportunities, of course, Kayla and myself will be highlighting that and showcasing them on our coaching calls, as well as the inner circle and all the other places that we advertise. So the last thing I want to really kind of look at and share with you guys is when these leads come in here and they are cash buyers, the way that it's going to display is really ultimately you're talking about creating a lead, because the beauty of this piece is you're going to be able to create a lead and they're not going to have an address because they're just a buyer, right? So this is where I think that sometimes that gets missed. A lot of the agents will think that they need to have a house to sell to become a cash buyer program. That's not true. It is a standalone offering. So first-time buyers, like I said, everybody can qualify for it other than an FHA borrower. And the reason why FHA borrower does not qualify is because of the no 90-day flip rule. Now, this is something that they may change that could eventually come down the pike. However, what the rule is that it stands right now is a house that's purchased by a buyer of the home cannot be resold to an FHA borrower within a 90-day time frame. So that's where that issue lies and why we're unable to work with FHA borrowers for that offering, or for this offering currently. But the last thing I want to share before I let you guys all go today, when you come in here in your dashboard, there will be no address. So way that works is, of course, let's just say it was Elliott Test here. There's no property. The beauty of this is they will be able to, if you find out that they get cash qualified and they end up having a house to sell, you'll be able to add that house. Well, again, this is an offering that will be alive and blast and be able to be marketed to your clients at scale. So the matching and connecting, right? It's almost kind of like the building blocks, right? Legos, if you will, taking them together and making everything work so that ultimately you're doing more transactions on that. So I just want to give you guys a heads up and let you know a couple of things that we are working on rolling out in these offerings and getting the conversation started around them as much as possible. As always, thank you so much for being with us. Remember, if you are not a Zoodealio member, you can always check out Zoodealio and see how it works at demo.zoodealio.com. That is demo.zoodealio.com. Or you can always get a live demo so you can check out how it fits in your business. And remember to like and subscribe to this video so you are always notified when we drop a new video. Thanks.